The ships came without warning on a Tuesday morning. Dr. Lisa Martinez was examining blood samples in her laboratory at the Centers for Disease Control in Atlanta when the lights flickered. She looked up from her microscope just as every computer screen in the building went dark. The hum of air conditioning died. Emergency lighting kicked in for exactly 3 seconds before that failed too. Outside her window, she watched a massive shadow pass over the city. The object was so large it blocked out the sun. Lisa pressed her face against the glass and saw something that made her legs weak. A ship the size of several city blocks hung in the sky above downtown Atlanta. Its surface was smooth and dark like black glass. No sound came from it, no exhaust, no lights. It just floated there as if gravity meant nothing to it. Then the burning started. Beams of pure energy shot down from the ship. They hit buildings with surgical precision. The CNN Center exploded in a ball of white fire. The state capitol building simply vanished. One moment it was there and the next it was gone. Not destroyed. Not collapsed. Gone. Where it had stood was now empty air and a perfect circle of melted earth. Lisa grabbed her emergency radio, but it was dead. Her cell phone showed no signal. The landline was silent. Every piece of technology around her had stopped working. She ran to the stairwell and found dozens of her colleagues doing the same thing. They moved down the stairs in the dark while the building shook from distant explosions. On the 15th floor, Dr. Carlos Mendez caught her arm. He was the head of infectious diseases and always stayed calm during emergencies. Now his face was white with fear. "Lisa, this is happening everywhere," he said. "I got one radio call before everything died. New York is burning, London is gone, Moscow, Tokyo, Berlin, all of them." Lisa felt something cold settle in her stomach. This was not random. This was planned, coordinated. Someone had studied Earth very carefully before today. They reached the ground floor and pushed through the emergency exits. Outside, the streets were chaos. Cars had stopped working where they sat. Traffic lights were dark. People ran in every direction while pieces of burning debris fell from the sky like snow. The alien ship still hung above them, silent and terrible. Lisa saw a man trying to start his motorcycle. She ran to him. "Does it work?" she asked. He shook his head. "Nothing works. Not even my watch." He was right. Lisa looked at her own wrist and saw that her digital watch was blank. 800 miles away in rural Montana, Jake Collins was fixing a fence when he saw the flash. He lived on a ranch 30 miles from the nearest town, so he was used to being alone. But the light that appeared on the horizon was brighter than anything he had ever seen. It lasted for maybe 10 seconds, and then it was gone. Jake walked back to his truck and tried the radio. Dead. He tried his cell phone. Nothing. The truck would not start. Even his flashlight was broken. Whatever had caused that flash had killed everything electronic for hundreds of miles. He climbed onto his roof and looked toward the city with binoculars. Where Billings should have been, he saw only smoke. Thick black columns rising into the sky. He had been a soldier once and knew what that meant. The city was gone. Jake climbed down and went to his barn. He kept supplies there for emergencies. Canned food, water, medical kit, and most importantly, weapons that did not need electronics. His hunting rifle still worked fine. His grandfather's revolver worked fine. The manual water pump worked fine. Jake had prepared for many disasters, but never this one. As the sun set, he saw lights moving across the sky, not airplane lights. These moved too fast and changed direction instantly. They were searching for something. Survivors, maybe. By the third day, people started arriving at his ranch. First came the Peterson family from town. Their car had died on the highway, and they had walked 20 miles. Then came others. A group of teenagers who had been camping, an old man with 2 horses, a woman with 3 children who had walked from Great Falls. Jake fed them all. He had enough supplies for weeks if they were careful. More importantly, he had knowledge. He knew how to live without technology, how to find water, how to hunt, how to stay hidden. The refugees told him stories. The aliens had ships everywhere, big ones over every major city, smaller ones patrolling the countryside. They were scanning everything, looking for something. The aliens had not tried to communicate. They just watched, and sometimes they killed one of the teenagers. A boy named Pete claimed he had seen one of the aliens up close. He said they looked almost human, but taller and thinner. They wore suits that seemed to be made of liquid metal. Their eyes were larger than human eyes and completely black. When they moved too smoothly, like they were floating instead of walking. Lisa had found her way to a refugee camp outside Atlanta. Thousands of people lived in tents and lean-to shelters. They cooked over wood fires and got water from a nearby stream. She used her medical training to help the sick and injured, but mostly she watched and thought the aliens were studying them. She was sure of it now. They destroyed just enough to cripple human technology but left the humans alive. They watched everything but did not finish the job. This felt like an experiment. A month after the invasion, Jake's group had grown to over 200 people. His ranch had become a small town. They had rules now, work schedules, guard duty. Everyone contributed something. The children went to school in the barn where Amy Foster, a former teacher, taught them reading and math. Jake noticed something important. The aliens rarely came to remote areas. They seemed interested in cities and large groups of people. Small communities like his were mostly ignored. He started sending scouting parties to contact other survivor groups. Maybe they could build a network, share information, help each other. Lisa made the same discovery from her refugee camp. The aliens were selective about their targets. They seemed to be testing human responses to different situations. Some camps were left alone, others were attacked without warning. The pattern made no sense unless you thought of it as data collection. She started keeping notes on everything she observed. What made the aliens attack? What made them ignore a group? How they reacted to different human behaviors. If this was a test, she was going to figure out the rules. Neither Lisa nor Jake knew it yet, but they were about to become leaders in humanity's fight for survival. The aliens thought they were conducting a simple evaluation of a primitive species. They had no idea they had just awakened something far more dangerous than they had ever encountered before. 6 months had passed since the ships arrived. Lisa Martinez crouched in the basement of a destroyed electronics store in what used to be downtown Atlanta. Above her, an alien patrol moved through the rubble with their strange floating walk. She held her breath and counted their steps until the sound faded away. The basement had become her laboratory. She had salvaged equipment from hospitals and research facilities across the city. Most of it was dead, killed by whatever the aliens had used to shut down human technology. But some older equipment still worked, analog devices, mechanical instruments, things that did not depend on computer chips. On her workbench lay pieces of alien technology. She had been collecting them for 3 months now. Every time the aliens had a skirmish with human survivors, they left behind fragments, pieces of their weapons, parts of their suits, scraps of their vehicles. Lisa picked up a small crystal that had come from an alien scanner. Under her modified microscope, it looked like a normal quartz crystal. But when she connected it to a simple electrical circuit, strange things happened. The crystal seemed to amplify the electrical signal and change its frequency. It was like a radio transmitter, but far more advanced than anything humans had ever built. She made notes in her handwritten journal. The aliens used crystalline technology instead of silicon chips. Their devices operated on different principles than human electronics. They did not use binary code like computers. Instead, they seemed to use some kind of harmonic frequency system. 300 miles away, Jake Collins watched his people practice with their new weapons. They had learned to modify hunting rifles to fire alien ammunition. The energy cells from destroyed alien weapons could be adapted to power human devices. His blacksmith, an old man named Henry Walsh, had figured out how to forge arrowheads from alien metal scraps, but the most important discovery had come from Ben Rodriguez. Ben had been a captain in the Army Rangers before the invasion. He understood tactics and strategy. Ben had noticed that the aliens always patrolled in the same patterns. They followed predictable routes at predictable times. They seemed incapable of adapting their behavior. "They think like machines," Ben told Jake as they studied a map covered with patrol routes. "Once they establish a pattern, they stick to it. They cannot improvise like humans can," Jake nodded. He had seen this too. The aliens were efficient but inflexible. They followed their programming perfectly, but could not handle unexpected situations. When humans did something unpredictable, the aliens seemed confused. Last week, Jake's people had set an ambush for an alien patrol. Instead of attacking with weapons, they had used noise. Dozens of people banging pots and pans and shouting at the top of their lungs. The aliens had frozen completely. They stood motionless for almost 10 minutes before finally retreating. It was as if their brains had crashed like a broken computer. Amy Foster had been working on something equally important. She had established communication with other survivor groups using methods the aliens could not detect: signal fires, mirror flashes during the day, drum codes at night. Simple techniques that humans had used for thousands of years before radio was invented. Through this network, Amy learned that survivors everywhere were making the same discoveries. The aliens were predictable. Their technology could be adapted. They seemed to have no understanding of human creativity or resourcefulness. In Chicago, a group led by an engineer named Carlos Valdez had built the first electromagnetic pulse device using alien components. It was crude and only worked once before burning out, but it had disabled an entire alien patrol. Carlos sent the blueprints to other survivor groups through Amy's communication network. In Detroit, a mechanic named Tony Blake had done something even more remarkable. He had taken the anti-gravity system from a crashed alien vehicle and mounted it on an old pickup truck. The truck could now fly. Not well, and not for very long, but it could leave the ground. Tony was already working on improvements. Lisa received news of these developments through the survivor network. Each breakthrough gave her new ideas for her own research. She realized that humans had one massive advantage over the aliens. Humans were chaos creatures. They thrived on improvisation and adaptation. The aliens were order creatures. They followed rules and patterns that never changed. She focused her research on finding ways to exploit this weakness. In her basement laboratory, she built the first human device that could jam alien scanners. It was nothing more than a modified radio transmitter connected to alien crystals, but it worked. When she turned it on, alien patrols would walk right past her hiding spot without detecting her. The device was so simple that any survivor group could build one from scrap parts. Lisa shared the design through Amy's network, and within weeks, dozens of groups had their own scanner jammers. Jake's community had grown to over 500 people. His ranch was now a small city with workshops, schools, and training facilities. The people had organized themselves into specialized groups: scouts who mapped alien patrol routes, engineers who modified alien technology, soldiers who planned attacks on alien positions, but the most important group was the teachers. Amy Foster led a team that documented everything they learned about the aliens. They wrote instruction manuals for building weapons and devices. They created maps showing safe routes between survivor communities. They developed training programs to teach people how to fight and hide. Jake realized they were not just surviving anymore. They were adapting, learning, growing stronger. The aliens had tried to break human civilization, but instead they had forced humanity to evolve. The breakthrough came when Ben Rodriguez captured a live alien. The creature had been separated from its patrol and cornered in an abandoned building. Instead of fighting, it had simply stopped moving. Like a robot that had lost its signal, Ben brought the alien back to the ranch, and Lisa traveled from Atlanta to examine it. What she found changed everything. The alien was not really alive in the way humans understood life. It was more like a biological machine. Its brain was connected to artificial implants that controlled its thoughts and actions. Without constant signals from its chip, it could not function. Lisa realized that the aliens were not independent creatures. They were components in a larger system. Like individual cells in a body or individual computers in a network, They had traded their independence for efficiency and coordination. Humans had made the opposite choice throughout their evolution. Humans valued individual thought and creative freedom over coordination and efficiency. This made human societies messy and chaotic, but it also made them incredibly adaptable. The alien prisoner provided the key to understanding their technology. Lisa learned how their communication systems worked, how their weapons functioned, how their vehicles operated. Most importantly, she learned how to disrupt their network connections. Working with Carlos in Chicago and Tony in Detroit, Lisa developed plans for weapons that could cut aliens off from their ship networks, devices that could jam their communications, viruses that could corrupt their data systems. For the first time since the invasion began, humans had a real chance to fight back. The aliens had taught them everything they needed to know by trying to destroy them. Jake stood on his ranch house porch and looked up at the alien ship that hung over the valley. For 6 months, it had been a symbol of human defeat. Now it looked different to him. It looked like a target. Tomorrow they would begin the real war. The aliens thought they were conducting a test of human worthiness. They had no idea they were creating their own worst nightmare. 1 year after the invasion, Lisa Martinez stood in a hidden laboratory built inside an abandoned mine in the Colorado Rockies. Around her, dozens of scientists and engineers worked at tables covered with alien technology and human-built devices. The laboratory hummed with activity as people tested new weapons and communication systems. Lisa held up a device that looked like a rifle but glowed with soft blue energy. It was the first human-built energy weapon, created by combining alien power crystals with human engineering. The weapon could fire bolts of concentrated energy that could punch through alien armor or disable their vehicles. "The safety limiters are gone," she explained to the group of resistance leaders gathered around her workbench. "The aliens built their weapons to be safe and predictable. We built ours to be dangerous and effective." Jake Collins examined the weapon with the eye of a soldier. He had traveled to Colorado with his best fighters to see Lisa's work firsthand. His community now controlled most of Montana and parts of Wyoming. They had become experts at guerrilla warfare, but they needed better weapons to take on alien strongholds. "How many can you make?" Jake asked. "With the materials we have, maybe 50 in the next month," Lisa replied. "But the real breakthrough is not the weapons. It is this." She led them to another table where a young engineer named Patricia Wells was working on something that made Jake's eyes widen. It was a suit of armor, but not like anything he had ever seen. The suit seemed to flow like liquid metal, but was solid to the touch. When Patricia put on the helmet, her eyes began to glow with the same blue light as the energy weapons. "We call it the Enhancement Project," Lisa explained. "We discovered that human DNA is compatible with alien biotechnology, more compatible than their own DNA. When humans interface with their systems, we can control them better than they can." Patricia demonstrated by picking up a piece of alien equipment. The device immediately responded to her thoughts, activating and displaying information in her enhanced vision. She could see through walls, track movement, and communicate with other enhanced humans across vast distances. "The aliens made a mistake," Patricia said, her voice slightly different now, carrying harmonics that seemed to resonate in the air. "They assumed their technology was too advanced for us to understand. They were wrong. We do not just understand it. We improve it." Tony Blake had arrived from Detroit with his latest creation. His flying vehicles had evolved far beyond the crude truck he had started with. The new aircraft were sleek and fast, built from a combination of salvaged car parts and alien anti-gravity systems. They could fly silently and were nearly invisible to alien sensors. "My pilots are calling themselves the Storm Riders," Tony said with pride. "We have been hitting alien patrols across 3 states. They cannot catch us, and they cannot hide from U.S. But Tony's most important innovation was not the aircraft themselves, it was the pilots. The men and women who flew his machines had developed new tactics that the aliens could not counter. They used kamikaze attacks when necessary, sacrificing themselves to destroy important targets. The aliens, with their hive mind mentality, could not understand this concept of individual sacrifice for group benefit. Carlos Valdez had come from Chicago with news of his own breakthroughs. His electromagnetic pulse devices had grown more sophisticated. They could now be built into grenades that could disable entire alien patrols. His team had also developed a computer virus that could infect alien systems. We based it on human thought patterns, Carlos explained. The aliens think in very logical, predictable ways. Our virus uses human creativity and randomness. Their systems cannot process it. It spreads through their networks and corrupts their data. Amy Foster had expanded her communication network to cover most of North America. Survivor communities could now coordinate attacks across thousands of miles. She had also begun psychological warfare against the aliens, broadcasting messages that seemed to confuse and disturb them. We learned that they communicate through harmonic frequencies, Amy said. We figured out how to disrupt those frequencies. When we broadcast certain sounds, entire alien units stop functioning properly. It is like jamming their thoughts. The resistance leaders spent 3 days in Colorado, sharing information and planning their next moves. They were no longer just surviving, they were winning. Human communities had gone from hiding in caves to controlling entire regions. Alien patrols that had once moved freely now traveled in heavily armed convoys and still faced constant attacks. Jake returned to Montana with new weapons and enhanced soldiers. His first target was the alien monitoring station that overlooked his valley. For a year, the station had watched his people and reported their activities to the alien ship. Now it was time to shut it down permanently. The attack came at dawn. Enhanced humans moved like ghosts through the alien perimeter defenses. Their improved senses could detect alien patrols long before the aliens knew they were there. Energy weapons cut through alien barriers as if they were made of paper. Jake led the assault team into the monitoring station. The aliens inside seemed surprised that humans could penetrate their defenses. They fought with their usual efficiency but without creativity or adaptation. Human fighters used tactics that the aliens had never encountered before, attacking from unexpected angles and using the aliens' own technology against them. Within an hour, the monitoring station was under human control. Jake's technical team, trained by Lisa's people, began downloading data from the alien computers. What they found was disturbing and encouraging at the same time. The aliens had detailed files on hundreds of worlds they had visited. Most species had failed their test within 6 months. They had either destroyed themselves in resource wars or had surrendered to alien authority. A few species had lasted longer, but none had ever fought back effectively. Earth was different. The alien reports showed growing concern about human adaptability and resilience. The test that was supposed to last 1 year had now extended far beyond its original timeline. Some alien commanders were recommending that the test be ended and Earth be declared off limits to further contact. But the most important discovery was the location of other alien facilities. The monitoring station had been just one small part of a vast network that covered the entire planet. Jake now had targets for future operations and, more importantly, he had intelligence about alien weaknesses and capabilities. Lisa received the data from Montana and combined it with intelligence gathered from attacks in other regions. A pattern was emerging. The aliens were not just confused by human resistance. They were becoming afraid. Reports from around the world showed similar developments. In Australia, enhanced humans had learned to interface directly with alien spacecraft. They could fly the vehicles better than their original pilots. In Brazil, resistance fighters had modified alien terraforming equipment to restore damaged ecosystems in weeks instead of decades. The most significant change was in human society itself. The invasion had forced scattered communities to work together in ways they never had before. Scientists shared discoveries instantly across continents. Soldiers taught tactics to farmers who became warriors. Children learned advanced technology. Alongside basic reading and writing, Patricia Wells had become the leader of the Enhancement Project. Over 100 humans had volunteered for the procedure that connected their nervous systems to alien biotechnology. They formed a new kind of human, one that could think and react faster than any previous generation. We are not the same species that the aliens first encountered, Patricia told Lisa during one of their planning sessions. We have evolved in 1 year more than we normally would in 1,000 years. The pressure they put on us forced us to become something new. Tony's storm riders had evolved too. They no longer just attacked alien patrols. They hunted alien supply convoys and communication relays. They had learned to work together like a pack of wolves, coordinating their attacks across vast distances. And sharing intelligence in real time, the aliens began to change their tactics. Instead of small patrols, they moved in large groups. Instead of predictable routes, they began varying their patterns. But these changes came too late. Humans had already adapted to fight larger groups and unpredictable movements. Jake stood on the roof of the captured monitoring station and looked up at the alien ship that hung above his valley. For a year, it had been watching his people like a scientist studying laboratory animals. Now he was watching it. His enhanced soldiers could track its movements and monitor its communications. Tomorrow they would test their most ambitious plan yet. Lisa's team had developed a way to plant their computer virus directly into the alien ship's main computer system. If it worked, they might be able to take control of the ship itself. The aliens had come to test humanity's worthiness for galactic citizenship. Instead, they had created the most dangerous species the galaxy had ever seen. Humans who could adapt their technology, enhance their bodies, and fight with creativity and determination that defied all logic. The test was about to become a nightmare for those who had designed it. 18 months after the first ships arrived, Lisa Martinez floated in the pilot seat of a human-built spacecraft as it approached the alien mothership in orbit above Earth. The craft was a hybrid of human engineering and captured alien technology, invisible to alien sensors and faster than anything the invaders had ever seen. Behind her, 12 enhanced fighters prepared for the most daring mission in human history. They were going to plant a virus directly into the alien command ship's central computer. Not to destroy it, but to take control of it. 2 minutes to target, announced Captain Ben Rodriguez from the pilot seat. Ben had been enhanced 3 months ago and could now interface directly with the spacecraft's controls. His reflexes were 10 times faster than a normal human, and his mind could process multiple data streams simultaneously. Lisa checked her equipment one final time. The virus they carried was unlike anything that had ever existed. It was based on human thought patterns, creativity, and chaos. The aliens' logical, ordered computer systems would not be able to process it or defend against it on the ground. Below, Jake Collins led the largest coordinated attack in the history of the Resistance. Over 10,000 fighters across 6 continents were hitting alien facilities simultaneously. The goal was to keep the aliens distracted while Lisa's team completed their mission in space. Jake's forces had evolved far beyond the guerrilla fighters they had started as. They moved with the precision of alien soldiers but retained human unpredictability and creativity. Enhanced humans could track alien movements across hundreds of miles. Modified vehicles could travel at speeds that made them nearly impossible to intercept. The aliens had tried to adapt to human tactics, but every change they made was quickly countered by human innovation. When they increased patrol sizes, humans developed weapons that could destroy larger groups. When they improved their armor, humans found new ways to penetrate it. When they changed their communication frequencies, humans learned to jam the new signals. In Detroit, Tony Blake's Storm Riders had become an aerial armada. His pilots flew craft that were part human engineering and part alien technology. They could outmaneuver any alien fighter and carried weapons that could disable entire squadrons. More importantly, they had developed tactics that the aliens could not comprehend. Tony's latest innovation was the kamikaze swarm. When facing superior alien forces, his pilots would sacrifice their aircraft and sometimes themselves to ensure mission success. The aliens, with their hive mind programming, could not understand why individual humans would die for the benefit of others. Phoenix leader to all units. Tony's voice crackled over the radio as he led 50 fighters against an alien stronghold in Ohio. Remember, we are not trying to survive this mission, we are trying to win it. Make your deaths count. The alien defenders were overwhelmed by the human attack. They fought with mechanical precision, but without the desperate creativity that drove human fighters. When human pilots crashed their aircraft into alien installations, the alien defenders simply stood and watched, unable to process what they were seeing. In Chicago, Carlos Valdez had completed his most ambitious project yet. He had built a massive electromagnetic pulse device that could disable every alien system within a 50-mile radius. The device was crude and would only work once before destroying itself, but it would eliminate the alien presence in the entire region. Carlos and his team had spent months building the device in secret. They used alien power sources captured from downed spacecraft and human engineering, techniques that pushed the technology far beyond its original design limits. The resulting device was more powerful than anything the aliens had ever created. Initiating pulse in 10 seconds, Carlos announced to his team as they evacuated the blast zone. Remember, this will kill every electronic device in the city. No phones, no radios, no enhanced implants. We will be fighting the old way after this. The pulse detonated with a flash of light visible from orbit. Every alien device within 50 miles simply stopped working. Spacecraft fell from the sky. Ground vehicles died where they stood. Even the enhanced humans in the area lost their technological advantages. But the aliens were completely helpless without their technology. Humans could still fight with basic weapons and tactics. Lisa's spacecraft had reached the alien mothership without being detected. The ship was enormous, easily 10 miles long and covered with sensor arrays and weapon systems. But all of those systems were designed to detect known threats. They could not see the hybrid human craft. Docking in 30 seconds, Ben announced. Remember, once we are inside, we need to reach the central computer core within 10 minutes. After that, the virus will start spreading through their entire fleet. The team moved through the alien ship like ghosts. Their enhanced senses could detect alien crew members long before being spotted. Their modified weapons could disable aliens without triggering alarms. Most importantly, their human intuition could navigate the ship's confusing layout in ways that confused the logical alien minds. Patricia Wells had become something beyond human during her enhancement process. She could interface with alien technology so completely that she sometimes seemed more machine than person. Now she placed her hands on the central computer core and began the download process. The virus is uploading, she reported, her voice carrying electronic harmonics. Their security systems are trying to stop it, but they cannot understand what it is. It is spreading faster than they can contain it. On Earth's surface, the coordinated attacks had achieved total success. Every major alien facility on the planet was either destroyed or under human control. The aliens who had once patrolled human territory with impunity were now hunted prey, hiding in remote locations and calling desperately for evacuation. Amy Foster monitored alien communications from her command center in the Rocky Mountains. What she heard filled her with grim satisfaction. The aliens were panicking. Their orderly, logical minds could not process the chaos that humans had unleashed upon them. They are calling it a system failure, Amy reported to resistance leaders around the world. They think their own technology is malfunctioning. They do not understand that we have turned it against them. Jake's forces had captured 3 alien commanders during the ground assault. Under interrogation, the aliens revealed information that changed everything humans thought they knew about the invasion. The aliens were called the Zephyrian Collective. They were part of a galactic civilization that tested younger species for potential membership. The test was designed to measure adaptability, cooperation, and technological potential. Most species either destroyed themselves during the test or surrendered to alien authority. Earth was the 48th world the Zephyrians had tested. Of the previous 47, 39 had failed completely. 8 had passed the test and been granted limited contact with galactic civilization. None had ever fought back successfully. Your species was supposed to demonstrate worthiness. Through survival and adaptation, the alien commander explained through a translation device. You were not supposed to become a threat to the evaluators. Jake laughed. You came to our world with weapons and destroyed our cities. You killed millions of our people. What did you think would happen? Did you expect us to thank you? The alien seemed genuinely confused by the question. Previous species either collapsed into chaos or accepted their limitations. Your species has done neither. You have adapted our technology beyond our own capabilities. You have enhanced your biology to surpass our physical abilities. You have created chaos that corrupts our ordered systems. In orbit, Lisa's virus had spread throughout the entire alien fleet. Spacecraft that had been perfectly coordinated now moved erratically. Communication systems broadcast human music and poetry instead of tactical information. Weapon systems refused to fire on human targets, but would attack other alien vessels. The virus is not just corrupting their data, Patricia reported as she monitored the alien systems. It is teaching them to think like humans. Their computers are developing creativity and individual initiative. They are becoming chaotic. The alien crew of the mothership had either fled in escape pods or surrendered to Lisa's team. The ship itself was now under human control, its systems responding to human commands better than they ever had to alien ones. Lisa stood on the bridge and looked down at Earth below. For 18 months, this ship had been a symbol of alien dominance. Now it was proof of human victory. But more than that, it was a tool. With alien spacecraft under human control, the Resistance could take the fight beyond Earth. Tony's Storm Riders were already adapting to their new roles as space pilots. Human creativity applied to alien spacecraft produced vehicles that could travel between worlds in days instead of months. Enhanced humans could interface with navigation, systems to plot courses that alien minds found incomprehensible. Carlos had begun reverse engineering the alien terraforming technology. Instead of using it to change worlds to suit the Zephyrians, he was modifying it to repair the damage they had caused to Earth. Forests grew back in weeks. Polluted rivers became clean overnight. The planet itself was healing faster than anyone had thought possible, but the most important change was in humanity itself. The species that had faced extinction 18 months. 2 years after the Zephyrian ships first appeared in Earth's skies, Lisa Martinez stood on the bridge of what had once been the alien mothership. Now the massive vessel bore human markings and flew under the command of Earth's first space fleet. Through the viewscreen, she watched the last Zephyrian evacuation ships flee the solar system in desperate panic. The transformation had been complete and terrifying. The species that had come to test humanity for galactic citizenship was now fleeing for their lives from the very people they had tried to evaluate. Lisa's virus had not just corrupted alien computer systems. It had fundamentally changed the nature of the war. Final enemy vessel has jumped to hyperspace, reported Captain Ben Rodriguez from the navigation station. His enhanced neural interface allowed him to track multiple spacecraft simultaneously while coordinating with human fighters across the solar system. They are broadcasting a galaxy-wide warning signal? Lisa nodded grimly. She had intercepted those broadcasts. The Zephyrians were telling their entire civilization to avoid Earth at all costs. They classified humanity as an apex predator species and recommended complete quarantine. The test that was supposed to determine human worthiness had instead revealed humanity's potential for galactic dominance. On Earth's surface, Jake Collins walked through the ruins of what had been the largest Zephyrian stronghold in North America. His enhanced soldiers moved like predators through the abandoned facility, cataloging alien technology and intelligence data. Where once human survivors had hidden in caves and basements, now they controlled vast installations and spacecraft. The stronghold had been evacuated in such haste that the aliens had left behind massive amounts of equipment and data. Jake's technical teams, trained by Lisa's scientists, were already reverse engineering new technologies that surpassed anything the Zephyrians had possessed. They left so fast they forgot to wipe their computers. Amy Foster reported as she scrolled through captured alien files. Amy's communication network had evolved into a sophisticated intelligence operation that could monitor alien activities across multiple star systems. We now have complete star charts for their territory. Military codes, colony locations, everything. The data was staggering. The Zephyrian Collective controlled over 300 worlds across 50 star systems. They had been the dominant civilization in this region of the galaxy for thousands of years. Now they were running from a species they had known existed for only 2 years, Patricia. Wells had become something beyond human recognition during the final months of the war. Her integration with alien biotechnology was so complete that she could control Zephyrian systems better than their original creators. She had discovered that human consciousness was not just compatible with alien technology but could enhance it in ways the aliens had never imagined. The neural pathways in human brains create quantum resonances that improve alien computational systems, Patricia explained to the gathered resistance leaders. Her voice carried harmonic frequencies that seemed to resonate in the air around her. When we interface with their technology, we do not just control it, we evolve it. This evolution had practical applications that terrified the aliens. Human-modified Zephyrian spacecraft could travel faster and farther than the originals. Human-enhanced weapons were more powerful and accurate. Human-adapted life support systems could sustain crews in environments that would kill unmodified. Aliens, Tony Blake's Storm Riders, had become the core of humanity's spacefighter corps. His pilots flew ships that bore no resemblance to their original alien designs. Human engineering had transformed sleek, efficient alien craft into aggressive, predator vessels that could outfight anything in the Zephyrian fleet. "We do not just fly their ships," Tony explained as he prepared for another patrol mission. "We make them better, faster, deadlier. The aliens built their technology to be safe and predictable. We rebuilt it to be dangerous and effective." The psychological impact on the Zephyrians had been devastating. They were a hive-mind species that valued order and cooperation above all else. They could not understand humans who would sacrifice themselves for strangers, who would fight impossible odds for abstract principles, who would choose death over surrender. Carlos Valdez had established the first human research facility on a captured alien world. His team was studying Zephyrian biology and technology to understand their weaknesses. What they found explained why the aliens had panicked so completely. "They are not really individuals," Carlos reported during a conference call with Earth's leadership. "They are components in a larger organism. When we disrupt their network connections, they become helpless. But humans function as individuals even when isolated. This makes us incomprehensible to them." The aliens had spent thousands of years perfecting their collective consciousness. They could coordinate complex operations across vast distances with perfect efficiency. But this strength had become a fatal weakness when facing humans who could adapt and improvise independently. Amy Foster had intercepted communications from Zephyrian colonies throughout their territory. The reports painted a picture of a civilization in collapse. The virus that Lisa had created was spreading through their computer networks, but it was doing more than corrupting data. It was teaching alien systems to think independently. "Their computers are developing human-like creativity," Amy reported. "They are starting to question orders, make independent decisions, display individual initiative. The aliens do not know how to handle artificial intelligences that think like humans." Some Zephyrian colonies were requesting permission to surrender to human authority. Others were simply abandoning their worlds and fleeing to unknown regions of space. The ordered, logical civilization that had tested dozens of worlds was disintegrating because one of those worlds had fought back. Jake received the first delegation of surrendering aliens at his command center in Montana. The Zephyrian representatives were terrified and confused. They could not understand how their test subjects had become their conquerors in such a short time. "We offer unconditional surrender," the lead alien representative announced through a translation device. "We request only that you allow our people to evacuate to neutral territory." Jake considered the request. Humanity now controlled dozens of Zephyrian worlds and had the military power to conquer dozens more. The species that had come to test them was now completely at their mercy. You can evacuate, Jake finally decided, but you will leave your technology behind. All of it, and you will never return to this region of space. Lisa had made a discovery that changed everything about humanity's future in the galaxy. While studying captured Zephyrian records, she learned that there were other species like humanity, worlds that had been tested and failed, civilizations that had been quarantined or destroyed by the collective. They have suppressed dozens of species over the past 1,000 years, Lisa announced during a meeting of Earth's new government. Some were destroyed for being too aggressive. Others were isolated for being too chaotic. We are not the first species to fight back, but we are the first to win. This knowledge carried both opportunity and responsibility. Humanity could choose to become the new dominant power in the galaxy, or they could work to free the species that the Zephyrians had oppressed. The decision would determine what kind of civilization Earth would become. Patricia Wells had evolved beyond purely human consciousness. She could interface with computer systems across multiple star systems simultaneously, coordinating activities on dozens of worlds. Through her enhanced perception, she could see the future that humanity was creating. We have 3 choices, Patricia told the assembled leaders. We can become the new Zephyrians, testing and controlling other species. We can isolate ourselves and focus on our own development. Or we can liberate the galaxy from the kind of oppression we faced. Tony's pilots had already made contact with some of the oppressed species. Many were eager to join a rebellion against Zephyrian authority. Others were too frightened or traumatized to trust any advanced civilization. All of them were amazed that a species could defeat the collective in only 2 years. Carlos had established research partnerships with several liberated worlds. The combination of human creativity and alien knowledge was producing technological advances that surpassed anything the galaxy had seen. Spacecraft that could cross between galaxies, weapons that could destroy entire fleets, life extension technologies that could grant virtual immortality, but the most important development was not technological. It was philosophical. Humanity had learned that the galaxy was not ruled by the most advanced or most logical species. It was ruled by the most adaptable and determined. Species that could face extinction and choose to fight rather than surrender. Amy's intelligence network now covered half the galaxy. Her operatives reported that the Zephyrian exodus was nearly complete. The collective that had controlled hundreds of worlds for thousands of years had been reduced to a handful of refugee colonies in distant star systems. Jake stood in the command center that had once coordinated Zephyrian operations across multiple star systems. Now it served as the headquarters for humanity's expanding galactic presence. On the screens around him,